We've all played around with AI, right? It's great for writing an email or maybe finding a quick answer. But what if it wasn't just a tool? What if it was a colleague, a fully autonomous member of your team? That's exactly what we're going to break down today, the rise of the new digital colleague. So let's just jump right in with a huge question, one that honestly could change, well, everything. What if an AI could run an entire business process from the very start to the very finish, all on its own? And look, we're not talking about your average chatbot here. No way. We're talking about something totally different. Autonomous agents that can actually reason, create complex, multi-step plans, and then go and execute them with hardly any human help at all. To really get what's happening here, you've got to understand this is a fundamental shift. On one hand, you have your classic task automation. It's good, but it's rigid. It follows a script, A, then B, then C. But on the other hand, you have these agentic systems. And these things don't just follow orders. They think, they reason, they plan, they operate in this dynamic world. It's really the difference between a simple robot that does one thing over and over and a whole coordinated team that can manage a really complex workflow. Okay, so how does this whole thing actually work under the hood? Let's find out. We're going to follow a single command on its journey through this whole system. Let's say you tell it something pretty common, like onboard our new hire. All right, so the journey starts the second your request comes in. First up, it hits something called an API gateway. You can just think of this as the digital bouncer at the front door, checking everyone's ID to make sure they're actually on the list. Once you're in, it goes to the semantic cache. This is like a super efficient receptionist who's heard every question 1,000 times. It quickly checks, hey, have we answered this one recently? If the answer's no, if it's a brand new request, then it gets sent into the queue, ready for the real magic to happen. And when I say fast, I mean fast. That semantic cache can pull up answers to common questions in less than 200 milliseconds. I mean, that's literally faster than you can blink. So why does this matter so much? Well, imagine you're a huge company getting thousands of the same IT or HR questions every single day. This isn't just a nice little time saver, it's a massive cost cutter. It frees up the expensive AI models and the human teams to focus on the stuff that really matters. Okay, so our onboard new hire request made it past the front desk. Now it's heading to the main event, the agent's core reasoning engine. This is the brain of the whole operation. So let's take a look at how this digital colleague actually, well, thinks. So it uses this really cool framework called Belief, Desire, Intention, or BDI for short, and it's designed to mimic how we humans think rationally. It's actually pretty simple when you break it down. Let's say you want to make coffee. Your belief is your current understanding of the world. Uh-oh, I'm out of milk. Your desire is the goal. I really want my morning coffee. And your intention? That's the plan you commit to. Okay, I'm going to go to the store, buy milk, and then make coffee. The AI agent does that exact same process, just for complex business goals. And here's where it gets really different from a simple chatbot. This agent has what's called agent state, which is basically a persistent memory. You can think of it like a dedicated notebook that it keeps for every single task. It's constantly jotting down the goals, the progress, every decision it makes. So what does that mean in the real world? It means a super complex process like onboarding a new hire, something that could take days or even weeks, can be paused, resumed, or recovered anytime without losing a single bit of information. That's a game changer. Okay, so the agent is smart. It has a plan. But how does it actually do anything? How does it go from plan to creating an email account or ordering a new laptop? Well, this is where a truly revolutionary idea comes in, something that solves what has been an absolute integration nightmare for decades. It's called the Model Context Protocol, or MCP. And the best way to think about it is this. It's the USB-C port for AI. I mean, that is a perfect analogy, right? It's a universal adapter. It lets the agent plug into any tool, any database, any piece of software, without having to build a brand new custom connection for every single one. It just works. Inside this little ecosystem, you've basically got three main players. You've got the host, which is just the app where the agent lives. You've got the client, which handles the connection. And then you have the servers. And the servers are the important part. They provide the actual capabilities, the tools, the data. This setup is brilliant because it means the agent itself can be incredibly smart, but totally powerless until it plugs into these servers. That's what gives it the ability to actually get things done in the real world. All right, but let's talk about the big question. With all this power, with this ability to act on its own, how do you make sure these things don't go off the rails? That's where you have to build a wall of trust. Before any plan gets executed, the agent has to pass through a supercritical safety and governance layer. And for any serious business, this is absolutely 100% non-negotiable. This wall of trust is built with something called agentic guardrails. Just think of them as the rules of the road for the AI. This layer is constantly asking questions, like a good manager would. Hey, does this agent actually have permission to do this? Wait a minute, this is a high-risk action, like spending money. Does a human need to sign off on this? Is the request itself safe and appropriate? And finally, based on this task, how much freedom should this agent really have? Okay, let's zoom in on something that is just incredibly important: data privacy. So imagine a user types in a pretty normal request, right? But it contains sensitive stuff, what we call PII, or personally identifiable information. You can see it here: a name, an email address, the kind of stuff you have to protect. Well, watch this. Before that request ever gets near the AI model, the system automatically cleans it up. It sanitizes it. As you can see, the real name and email are swapped out for these generic tags. So the AI model only ever sees the anonymous version. Then, right at the very end of the process, the real data is put back in. It's rehydrated. This is huge because it means privacy isn't an afterthought. It's baked right into the system from the get-go. Okay, let's pull back and look at the really big picture here. Because what we've been talking about, this whole architecture, it isn't just about making one process a little more efficient. No, this is about fundamentally changing how an entire enterprise works by introducing a brand new digital workforce.
And here's where the scale of this gets, well, kind of mind-boggling. I want you to think about something called the COBOL conundrum. Get this, a staggering 70% of all global financial transactions, we're talking banking, insurance, airlines, the whole shebang, still run on code that was written over 60 years ago. It is a massive, incredibly fragile, and expensive problem. And it's a problem that this agentic technology is perfectly built to solve.
So how in the world do you fix a problem that big? You definitely don't try a risky big bang approach where you rip everything out at once. That could literally bankrupt a company. Instead, these agents use a clever strategy called the strangler fig pattern. They safely wrap themselves around these old systems. They can automatically analyze and document that ancient, complex code that maybe no one alive even understands anymore. And then, piece by piece, they can start to replace the old components. What you're left with is a new digital workforce that augments the human employees, finally freeing us up to do what we do best. You know, the high-level strategy, the real innovation, and the creative problem solving. And that brings us to our final thought for today. What we've walked through, this isn't science fiction. This is the blueprint for the modern enterprise, and it's happening right now. So the real question we all have to start thinking about is this: as these incredibly powerful digital colleagues start showing up for work, how are we going to learn to work alongside them?